Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and today we're actually going to do our official review on Among Cultists. Now, our previous video that featured the game was our full unboxing, where you can actually take a look at all the parts. Today we're just going to talk about our actual gameplay experience and our overall thoughts. Now, as you can see, we do have the two expansions, Mountains of Chaos and Down into the Abyss. And then there is one other one that is available currently in Kickstarter, which the campaign is still ongoing. I believe we still have about 2 weeks left, maybe a little bit less. And then we have the core game. Now with the Kickstarter, there is also a new faction available. I don't remember the name of it, but I did see it was officially unlocked as one of the award tiers because of the number of contributors or the total dollar amount was reached. I can't remember if it was a stretch goal or a sharing goal or what exactly it was that they unlocked, but there's a new faction now being added. So a lot of great things to come, and from what I understand, there's still more that they're working on to further expand this. But I digress. With the game itself, at first glance, it very much looked like a cross between the classic game Clue and involving some social deduction like the game Among Us, which obviously the name itself, and I was able to corroborate this with the one of the designers, that it actually is a play on the words or the play on the name Among Us, but Among Cultists, and then Cultists obviously being cultists following one of the elder gods. And so you have your cultists and your investigators, at least for now. And the cultists, their job is essentially to eliminate the investigators. The investigators, their job is to essentially figure out who the cultists are and achieve their victory scenarios, which do sometimes differ. And you explore the map, kind of like a clue board, going room to room, where in each room you actually play a card and can either hinder the investigation if you're a cultist or actually help it along. And the entire time you guys are conversing, the cultists are having to actually manipulate the other players into believing that they're actual players. And when two players enter a room together, they actually exchange some cards that are hidden, so that way they don't know exactly what they received, so you don't know directly if you've actually been killed by a cultist or not immediately. And then even if you are killed, you actually get to play around as a ghost and still help the investigation along, but you don't always find out immediately if that's the case, if you have been eliminated. And what's great about this game is, actually, let's rewind. My only real complaint is the structure or the organization of the rule book. It doesn't feel as linear as I would like. It's not point A to point B to point C and so on. Kind of things are a little bit more scattered there, so it's a little bit more difficult to immediately find what you're looking for. Where the first few games that you play, you're going to be referencing it quite a bit, and so that does take away some of the gameplay. Now, the game is quoted for ages 14 and up, and with the actual deduction aspect and the kind of acting and the manipulating of the rest of the players, I definitely think that's fair. Now, going back to the one thing I disliked, that itself really isn't that detrimental to the overall experience. It just slows down the first couple games that you play, and then as you get used to it more and more, you get past it, and you're able to then remember what some of the symbols mean and what some of the things that you're doing are. And so it's a lot easier, obviously, the more times you play, just like any other game. Now, what makes this easier, though, is that like on the back of the box, there actually is a QR code that will actually link you to information about the game, videos, and things like that. And the structure of that media is very easy to follow. Like me, I'm more of a visual learner when it comes to stuff like that. And so having those resources readily available made learning and understanding how to play the game a lot easier than reading through the rule book, where with my ADHD, it's very hard for me to focus on a rule book and stay focused on it and follow along consistently. Where if I'm not doing it in small chunks, then I get easily distracted and kind of forget what I'm doing. But with the videos, they're much more engaging and a lot easier to follow. So if you are able to read the book and follow it along a lot easier, then by all means read the book. That's actually the way my wife learns a lot better. And so while I was watching the videos, she was busy reading the book, and then we kind of basically met in the middle. So that definitely helps. Gives you different ways to learn the game. I really liked that they provided that from the beginning, where most games you kind of get that later on as influencers like myself or reviewers, or even the company themselves, later on release those types of materials, and by then it's a little too late for some players. So having it from the beginning, definite win there. But overall, I thought the game was fantastic. The mechanics were fresh, original. I've never experienced a social deduction game like this. I mean, most social deduction games, they typically devolve into more or less everyone pointing fingers at each other without much real discussion, where this game really invites a lot more discussion between the players, and kind of forces you to learn when you're one of the cultists, how to better manipulate those other players during the game, and what type of things can kind of set them off on one path when you really are going down another. And that aspect of it, I've never seen any other game capture. Now, like, of course, there are other social deduction games out there, but none of the ones I've ever played or even seen even come close to the mastery of Among Cultists. So, if you're a fan of social deduction games like Clue, if you like Lovecraftian worlds, stuff about the elder gods and things like that, you are going to love this game. It's an absolute win. I do sincerely hope that we get to experience the next expansion and the other additions that are coming out with this round of Kickstarter. I know me personally, I'm actually going to be taking a look to see if we can actually participate in this Kickstarter. But definitely that means looking at our budgets and seeing where we're at. So that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening, and I do hope sincerely that you guys give this game a shot. Thanks.